People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning in each and every time and rocking with me time and time again. It's another Friday. Fridays equals Q&A days. As always, thank you very much for these questions, people. Without you, can't go anywhere. So whoever you are, wherever you are, however you've asked the questions, thank you very much. If I missed you out, please don't feel no way. You don't know it's not on purpose. But cracking on with the questions I was asked via Twitter. 1 second, people, I need to rub my forehead. Sweating that's on our beat, even though it's I was seeing thunder earlier and it sounds like it's raining right now, but it's still hot and humid, man. Moving on, Kadir, big up Kadir, man. He's always asking questions and interacting on Twitter. I believe he's from India. Yeah, your profile says India, so big up yourself, man. Like I said, this thing is global, wherever you are, whoever you are. But Kadir, you've asked, and thank you for your question once again. Who should be our first choice pivot in a 4-2-3-1? For me, I would put Ceballos in brackets if we get him. Obviously, this was asked before it became official. And Torreira. I like that question, Kadir, my guy. And that's, do you know what? It's a positive conundrum or positive thing to have, to be stuck on, sort of thing. I can't lie. A bit of me is trying to say 4-3-3, my guy, or not. If it's not 4-3-3, three midfielders, because Xhaka is probably likely to play. Torreira and Ceballos probably either side of him. But the potential of, I don't know, Ceballos for a season, Torreira and Guendouzi appeals to me a lot, people, really and truly. You've probably got a Joe Willock's probably not in that mix, but Joe Willock's going to be here this season and he's done all he can in pre-season, so you'd probably back him to be in a pivot if he is ever in a pivot with Xhaka, because we've seen that a few times this season. Maybe in the Europa League we see Guendouzi and Willock, but I'm not too sure you'll see that too many times in the Premier League, at least the first hurdle of the Premier League. So it'll be interesting, man. Like I said, three midfielders, but Ceballos and Torreira will be kind of good, to be fair with you, man. Good question, man. Good way to start this off, man. You really got the creative juices flowing. Mustafi the GOAT, Chris02 is his username, is asked, what formation would you use? Me personally, I'd use 4-3-1-2. Decent. To be honest, my guy, right now I'm a 4-3-3 man at heart. So mine would be a 4-3-3. Not really three strikers or one striker, one winger of such. You'd have inside forwards and you'd have a striker and they'd all interchange. 4-3-3 is my primary instinct. I would actually entertain the formation you said. I'd use the formation we used last season. I do think three at the back can work, because when obviously Pep and Emery are not the same and our squads are not the same, but regardless of what formation Pep plays, the attacking ethos is still the same, whether it's three defenders, four defenders, two centre halves, whatever you want to call it. So I don't necessarily believe that's a defensive formation of such. Obviously it is, and we've still got teething problems. I do believe 4-3-3, if I was the gaffer, would be my primary one, but there'd be the 4-2-3-1, the one you've named, three at the back. They'd be ones I consider, and different little break-offs of that, man. Like a you know, what's that one when it's 4 and then it's 2-2-2 all over the place and them thing there. So there's that. Use is asked, what's your thoughts on Joe Willock's defensive side of his game and whether he can develop into an out-and-out ball winner? I don't think ball winning is him as such. I think he'll be a box-to-box, maybe deep line who relishes that. I think Joe Willock, even when he was smaller, I think he's relished the dirty side of the game. But since he stepped up in the first-team environment, one thing I like about him is, yes, obviously he's an Arsenal player. He's Joe Willock. His strengths are going forward, passing, dribbling, and all of these things. But he relishes the defensive aspect. At times, I've actually seen him be the deepest midfielder against people that are way more experienced than him, and people on our team that have way more experience than him, and they're not doing it. So I think the defensive aspect of Joe Willock, it will come. Obviously, there's fine-tuning, positioning, things like in midfield. Sometimes, like you saw in the last pre-season game, he had a good game, but 20th minute, he controlled the ball and he played a stray pass, and they counter-attacked. Madrid countered, and it didn't come to nothing, but the Premier League, that potentially can. These are the sort of rough edges that he's going to have to polish out, and these mistakes will happen, so I hope people stand by him. But I'm rather impressed with the defensive side on Joe Willock's game. I didn't know he was on defending or on doing the dirty work this much until he stepped into the first team, really and truly, my people. So that's a good question. Well, we're running through these Twitter questions. Hunts has asked, what do you think of the Anna and Jordan situation? Well, they're both gone, so no matter, but both tricks, really and truly. I mean, Jordan's a dud, Anna's a dud. Both pretty superficial. Yeah, man. Less duds, the better. One more question on Twitter, or in fact, I saw it. I think it was Alex Alert. I saw it in my comments on YouTube. And similar question. Which midfield pivot would you prefer? Xhaka and Torreira or Ceballos and Torreira? Probably Ceballos and Torreira, to be fair with you. I just think that's a bit more dynamic, but I can see a three of Xhaka, Ceballos and Torreira potentially. Ceballos, not deep line playmaker, but receiving it off Xhaka, who's going to be next to the centre halves and looking to connect it with Aubameyang and Lacazette. Obviously, Xhaka, for all the... You know who Xhaka is at this moment in time. For everything Xhaka gives, he's got a good pass in him. Torreira's Torreira, box to box, dynamic, might help Xhaka a bit. Who knows? There's only so much protection you can do without his lack of mobility coming to the fray. But that's a good question, man. Very good question. Let's move on to YouTube now, where my comments tab is. It never wants to just let me go to the comments tab whenever I'm doing YouTube videos. Here we go. Devon's asked, sorry for being so late, G. I'm from Jamaica, just coming from a party. It's 1:30. Up, my G. That's not exactly a question, but big up yourself, my child, G, man. You know where it is. JA to the world, I'm back. But shout to you. Spinners asks, DG, do you think Emre should take a lot of the blame as he's left Mkhitaryan on the pitch to play in the pivot, and Saka and Nelson showed why Arsenal need pacey and direct wingers, make so much of a difference in brackets Real Madrid game? You could say to a degree Emre's tactics in that game kind of cost us and whatnot. Don't know how Mkhitaryan stayed on the pitch as long as that. Yes, I can 100% agree with what you said about Saka and Nelson. They show what you have when you've got wingers that want to take people on, and hopefully both of them are given chances to develop and given all the chances to make it at this club. Because like you said, man, we're dying for wingers. If we could use them to in some capacity, bring in a winger, I potentially don't feel we need any more attackers of such. Obviously, if there's quality players and there's a case for a 10 in a year or so, cool. But do you get it? So yeah, you could say that, man. As much as the players let themselves down and bottled a 2-goal lead and conceded 2 goals in 3 minutes, and that's been themes of last season, even though this is just pre-season, I do agree with what you said, my guy, man. So big up yourself. You've also asked, do you think it is selfish of the club to keep Nketiah at the club as he will benefit more from a loan spell? So yes and no. On one hand, Eddie wants to make it here and said he wants to stay here. On the other hand, his comments allude you to believe he's open to a loan. It's all fun and games getting chances in pre-season, being part of the first team, but at the end of the day, are you going to play 20 plus games or games of a substantial period to which you develop? Anything can happen. Maybe Emre deemed that he wasn't quite ready last season beyond just being depth in the event. Sadly, Lacazette or Aubameyang became injured. So maybe he does get chances, but if he deals with the facts, he travelled a lot. Yes, he had highs, like he obviously played a couple games and he scored in the Premier League, but he travelled a lot of the times, and the amount of times he travelled to playing, it doesn't exactly correlate. And if you look at them games, sometimes we've been chasing a game. You've seen Aaron Ramsey and Kolasinac come off the bench. Now, that's not a criticism. If you obviously can see bringing on a wing-back to try and get in behind and a goal-scoring midfielder like Ramsey or Sox or box-to-box, if you think him being a goal-scoring midfielder is overstated. But Eddie never come off the bench. There's been times we've been chasing games, Aubameyang and Lacazette are on the bench. Eddie hasn't come on, or one of them have come off. Eddie hasn't come on. Does the manager believe in you if you're seeing this sort of things? You're a goal scorer, your team need a goal, but you're not coming on. Does he believe in you? I'm not saying he doesn't, but this is things you've got to consider. Do you get it? Because beyond being a depth, being a body for the team, I don't know if you're going to play. I back Eddie, I love Eddie, but he's got a tough decision. Because for me, obviously he can develop without playing these games, but if I'm Reece Nelson, if I'm Eddie, if I'm Joe, if I'm Emile Smith-Rowe, any of these players, they're at the ages now where they've got to look back at the end of the season and they've played 20 plus times. Obviously there's injuries. Obviously you can develop without that, but being a bit part role player wouldn't be in my forte, and I wouldn't advise it because you're not going to develop. The odd 20 minutes here and there for Eddie is not going to develop him. What is he, 20 now? So he's 19, turning 20 or something. It's time to play. Like, he needs to go and play. If he's not going to get it here, which I hope to God he does, then he needs to go elsewhere because it's not fair. From a selfish point of view, the club probably do have to keep him. There's no Danny Welbeck. There's no other striker. Clearly, I think Emre likes a striker, wants another striker. Because we've been linked with too many. We've been linked with Bowen, Moise Keane, Dembele, Morano. I think in an ideal world, there's no smoke without fire. I do think Emre would like to bring in another striker. Maybe someone of Wells that can play up front as well as being on the wings and being a good utility player. I do think he wants that. On top of Wells, obviously with Wells' injury, Eddie didn't really get substantial minutes. So this season might be stronger, might get more opportunities. Who knows? You definitely play in the Europa, but is that enough for you to develop? Are you going to look... If I was any of these players, I want to look back a year from now and say, yeah, I've really developed and I'm no longer this young player. Like, I'm one of the guys here. You got to bring me in, sort of thing. Because look at Nelson. Nelson's not all the way there yet, but he went and got 20 plus games, and he had some good moments, some poor moments, some troubling moments. But it's brought him on as a man and as a footballer. You could probably ask him that. I want to see the same from Eddie, Joe, and all of them. I think Joe's gonna get a lot of football this season. I say I hope, because he seems to be ready of such, and at least he seems to be ready to be given an opportunity. Same does Eddie. Eddie's at the stage now where Emre's got to believe, he's got to train where Emre's got to legitimately believe that it doesn't matter if it's Aubameyang, Lacazette or Eddie, I can throw all of them on, or he has no qualms starting Eddie as opposed to Lacazette or Aubameyang. Does he honestly believe that? Clearly not, because them two strikers are good. But that's what he's competing against. Because it don't matter that Eddie's young and them things. Obviously it does, but it doesn't matter. Because if he's going to stay, Emery has to believe in his heart that we're training all week. Come Saturday or Sunday, he has a decent contention of playing. Obviously he's young. He can get minutes here, minutes there, rotate and things. But we didn't even see that last year. Like I said, if he gets first team football this year, because it's one year on and whatnot, Emery knows him a bit more, then cool. But I'm not too sure. You've also asked, with Ceballos coming in and potentially a winger, does that mean Mkhitaryan no longer has a future at the club? You'd imagine he'd be marginalised, and beyond being a squad player, I can't see it. I like Mkhitaryan, but he hasn't quite hit the heights. He's had some good moments. There was a purple patch last season where game in, game out, Mkhitaryan was one of the best players on the field. But since he's come here, more or less flattered to deceive. He's got the technical ability. He's had some good moments. He's linked up well with Aubameyang and whatnot. But you'd like to think beyond being a squad player, his days are numbered, and he'll probably run out his contract until 2021. Him, Mustafi and Ozil, because of lack of suitors. So we've got to bite the bullet in that regards, bro. Wagyu's asked, you've asked me, do I think Callum Chambers is good enough for Arsenal, especially with what he did at Fulham? I think he's earned the chance to be used in the squad. I mean, he can play in midfield. Doubtful as to whether he'll play in midfield at Arsenal. Centre-half, obviously, will he play? Who knows? He's not a right-back, but is he any worse of a right-back than Mustafi? So he could be utilised at some point in the season. You do need some squad players. Obviously, he's a centre-half. For me, if I'm Callum Chambers, he said he wants to stay at the club. You've gone to Middlesbrough, you've played a lot of football. Fulham, you've played a lot of football. Are you going to play a lot of football at Arsenal? Because even before he went on loan, his last loan spell, he did all right against Atletico, Chelsea, Manchester United. He played quite well in games last season, the season before he went out on loan. But is he legitimately going to play? Who knows, man. Daniel's asked, do we really need Turney? We need a left back, bro. And it looks like we're in talks for Turney, so get over the line. If you're not going to get Turney, just bring me another competent left back. I've got no qualms. But I personally believe a left-sided fullback, and a left-sided centre-half would be... Left-sided centre-half would be the icing on top of the cake, but a centre-half is essential. So a fullback on the left-hand side of the centre-half is essential. Big up Saliba and whatnot, but he's not here for a year, so it's irrelevant, really and truly. How much can we improve without new personnel? New personnel in the defence or the back line isn't going to automatically equal better defending and better clean sheet records. We need to have a greater emphasis on being able to defend as a team, but they make the difference. Clearly, better players have better results. So, yeah, Daniel. Bars asks, forgive me, do you think there's even a slight possibility of Saka playing ahead of Reece, if hypothetically speaking? Reece underperforms on a regular basis to me. Reflecting on last season, it seems like Emery neglects utilising inexperienced youth players in the EPL. Is it a lack of trust? Because Joe and Saka have been ruining people's careers in 23s. Surely they deserve first team game football. Now this is a question I got time for. Exactly, way, my guy. You said it, man. You said it. They've been ruining people. You've been ruining people, and I do agree. To a degree, I did think Emery would give a little 20 minutes here and there to some people. I suppose in theory there's a chance Saka can play ahead of him, because I really rate Saka, man. I think Saka is one of them similar to Greenwood at United. They can skip a lot of this development stuff. They don't need loans and they don't need these sort of things. Just give them the little experience you can this season, 20 minutes, league start, cup start, and let them adjust to it. Because I think we've got to take our time with Saka, because he's so good. We remember, we forgetting this guy is 17, like he can just about drive now. You get it? And he's turning 18 in September. No disrespect, that's how good he is. He can still play in the FA Youth Cup, which he probably might be called upon if he wants to, but doubtful, because he's 17 and he's in the first team, obviously not officially. I love him, man. I think that's harsh of Nelson underperforming. I think Nelson is still learning. Like I said, man, he's obviously, when you're Nelson and you get the hype and things, people are going to expect you, I'm not saying you are, but people are expecting him to be Cristiano Ronaldo from the jump. You've heard him and Emil since Jack Wilshere, the best potential. 30-second clips of his long spell in Hoffenheim where he scored, but not necessarily had the best of games, doesn't help his case because people, not even him, people are not watching football. He wasn't going to go to Germany and return Cristiano Ronaldo. He played 16 times for Arsenal and just about 20 times, or just over 20 for Hoffenheim. That's about, let's just call it, under 40 appearances. That's still a young man who's developing. I believe in him. I believe he can play on both sides of the flanks as well as in the 10. I like him a lot, man. Saka at times underwhelms in the 23s as well, and the Meech. If you look at them, watch their whole games, they're not always perfect people. That's not a criticism. That's just a fact. They're of their age where they're not going to be amazing all the time. I would like to see Joe, Saka, and Nelson get some game time. Emil too, but it looks like Emil's going on loan, my guy. Jays has asked, would you try swapping Xhaka plus cash for Weigl of Dortmund or Chelsea's Reece James? They're not going to entertain that. Come on now, my guy. I would like us to go for... I would like Reece James, but it's not going to happen. Weigl, I wouldn't mind him, but there would be no need to swap Xhaka for that. Kadim's asked, would Mangala or Otamendi from City be good options for centre-half? Neither player convinced me, really and truly. They're not my sort of centre-half. I describe them both as quite erratic, and I don't really like erratic, and especially at Arsenal, have had enough of erratic defenders. You've asked, do you think Medley or Bellard could make it into the first team? You never know. It's difficult, but I must admit I can't really see it for either player, really and truly, at this moment in time. I wouldn't even say hope they prove me wrong, because I would love both of them to do it, but I think it is very difficult. Very, very difficult, and they're coming of the age where they both need to play football. Who knows? But for me as an outsider looking in, I'm very doubtful. 29 Skills has asked, we have signed Saliba, but as he will be loaned back for the season, what centre half do you think we should bring in if they have a spare 10 million? Not a scout, my guy. Don't have a clue. Just want a centre half in the club. Alf Tupperman's asked, do you think that FA should try to come down hard on clubs as a way to combat this? He's obviously referring to the recent findings from Kick It Out, in that racism has surged yet again, or reports of racism has surged yet again. He said, do you think clubs should come down, FA should come down on clubs hard as a way to combat this? Maybe start making them play behind closed doors for games, and if the club fans still persist, then away games as well. My guy, in theory, bans, even though they don't work. I've spoken with people that work in that sort of life. They said stadium bans don't work. Like, it's impossible right now to ban, because what's to stop you going in? There's no facial recognition, which I wouldn't advertise or advocate. There's no facial recognition. I don't think the FA care about racism. I think the FA care to look good, to look that they're talking about racism. Obviously, with this, it's not their campaign, but you know everybody's doing the say no to racism. We don't condemn this and blah blah blah. The sad reality is, if combating racism, if there was a way to make profit of combating racism, racism wouldn't be a thing. Racism isn't profitable. Racism probably doesn't affect 98% of the FA, so they simply don't care. Like, obviously, I'm not saying everybody. There's a lot of good people that I've spoken to the FA that want to target this. Is it Greg Clark? He, for instance, is completely irrelevant, but diversity in management. He was out here trying to meet like black and BAME managers trying to see like, well, go on, what can they do and stuff. And there was a lot of BAME managers that were scared to meet them. There's actually a certain one that's now quite annoys me, because he's now the advocate of trying to break down barriers. But when you had your opportunity, you wasn't trying to speak because you didn't want to lose your bag, which is understandable. But stick to your principles. You was a mug then, you're a mug now, sort of thing. I don't think the FA care, bro. I think everything you said in principle would be great. The FA would find a way not to do it. The FA simply just don't care, and the clubs would probably not. The clubs would care, but they'll probably protest. Obviously, stadium bans, behind closed doors, all of these sort of things would be good, my guy. It would be great, but beyond just the occasional slap on the wrist fine, I don't think anything's changing, dude. So apologies for that one. Somebody's asked me, Jordan, James, or Brian. LeBron James, like that video was funny, so I'm gonna say LeBron James. I'm not that big of a basketball man. Support the Chicago Bulls. We in the playoffs yet, and I'm only do that for Little Reese. But anyways, Moroccan Gooners asked, why did Gabriel Martinelli not play? Probably a manager's decision, bro. Aussie Gooners asked, DG, how are you, my guy? Thank you for asking. People rarely ask that, man. I'm quite good, to be fair, man. Still chasing my dream, chasing everything gets hard. A couple of days ago, I was actually in a very bad mood, but thank you very much for asking that, man. Big up yourself from down under, assuming you live in down under, and that's not just your username. I assume you're from Australia. I'm pretty sure you comment quite frequently. Jack the Ripper's asked, What country is the next biggest thing when it comes to youth football talents? Not a clue, my guy, but I do think Holland is making a massive return and it's being understated. Portugal got the ballers, Spain got the ballers, France got the ballers, Scandinavian regions are getting the ballers. I don't know for the next biggest thing, but I'm impressed with America, whether it's the players that are in Europe already, or whether that's their talent pool, or identifying these players and getting them to switch allegiances and play for the Americans, play for the USA, sorry. I don't know. But I'd say I'm impressed with America. Flashing Likes has asked, DG, is Malcolm Ebowe the biggest prospect we currently have in our academy? I stay away from these sort of things, but I do think he's one of them people. I think he's got good size, good dribbler, play on either side, left-footed, can hit a free kick. I assume he's 15, turning 16, so let's leave him, let him develop. He's still going to be raw, but I've got a lot of time for him, and he's got a good mentality as well. Jay's asked, have you seen the Barcelona documentary movie, Take the Ball Past the Ball? No, I haven't seen that. You've also asked me about the Manchester City one. Admittedly, I'm slacking. I've only watched 2 episodes, my guy, and so far I'm loving it. I actually was watching Griezmann's documentary. You lot should all watch that. It's a decent documentary about how he got scouted and all of them things there. So I'll definitely watch this Barca one, my guy, but I ain't seen the Barca one. Diabolical has asked, which Arsenal players do you feel could play for England in the future? For me, if he develops to the way I believe he can, Saka, Nelson, Rob Holding. Small hope for Maitland-Niles if he plays in midfield, but I'd say Nelson and Holding with my heart. Saka as well. Who knows, man? Joe Willock, England under-21s, call-up should be there. Not sure for the first team if he develops. Who knows? But, yeah. Omar's asked, do you think we will fix our dreadful defence? I hope we sign a centre-half, my guy, man. I just hope. At this point, I hope for the best, pray for the worst. I'm prepared for the same centre-half options that we had this campaign to be here next season, so I'd be inclined to say no. Cameron's asked, what advice would you give to come back from a setback or rejection at a club? First and foremost, you must recognise, my guy, that football is all of opinions. You could be this is something I had issues with as well, because I remember, like, Edmund All-Stars, Farm, Norseman, all of these teams. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't the best player, but managers in that at fullback, they knew I was the guy, they knew I was the first choice, and that I went Wolfram Abbey, and I was being played out of position on the flanks. I don't mind playing left back, but I didn't necessarily see eye to eye with the gaffer, and I was in and out of the team, and I would say, obviously in football, you got ego. It did hurt my ego. I was like, what, you think man's not good than that? Say nothing. Or when I went to Protec and I got, like, they said, no, we don't want you after a while, after like 3-4 weeks. It really got me. It's like, brother, I've been on trial at this club and that club. How can you not? But football's of opinions. If they reject you, it's their loss. You just got to make them regret it. Even the best do it. You look at that scout, is it Pete DeVisa? I can never say his name. The Chelsea scout, Belgium, I believe. Looked at De Bruyne and looked at that. He said he saw Firmino back when Firmino was in Brazil, one of the lower league teams in Brazil, and he said he didn't think he was nothing. Now look, you never see, man, people are developing at different rates. You never see someone at the same time. It should never be a no full stop. It's just not a no now. So just use it to fuel you, man. Everybody's going to get rejection. Just use it to fuel you, man. Because where they say no, someone else will say yes. It is what it is. Maybe you didn't show your best potential. Maybe they just didn't like you. Maybe there's some other reason as to why they didn't sign you. They might even still like you. Can't deal with none of that. So I just say, just develop a mentality that it's water for ducks back. You prepare for the worst in that you're not going to get it. You obviously hope to get it. But it is what it is either way. You just keep moving forward because someone's got to say yes if you're determined, man. And from the questions you always ask me on your Twitter page, you're like trying to be a footballer, and I really hope you do it, man. My advice, I'm not sure how old you are, and would just be to look at some non-league clubs and semi-pro clubs and see which ones are playing in the prestigious leagues and tournaments and try and get in there, because 9 times out of 10, clubs are looking everywhere, but you got to think smart. If there's a club semi-pro team where a couple of their players have gone off to Premier League teams or been scouted and they're doing well in their competitions, scouts are going to look at them. So if you can get there and be in their eyes, you've done half the job. That's the sad thing about being footballers, about not becoming a footballer. I generally think some people have potential, they're just not seen. Like, especially in London, it's a melting pot. I think, I can't lie to people, I think I would be a footballer if I lived in, no disrespect, but Newcastle. I'd be a calm right back. Wait, that's Liverpool accent, Liverpudlian accent, but I'd be a right back somewhere. My accents are terrible. I'd be a right back somewhere to get it. But big up yourself, man. I love to see dream chasing. Devon's asked, my chargy, I assume you've woken up now. Do you think with the performance Robbie Burton has shown over pre-season, he'll get a loan move and maybe have a chance to play men's football this season? Might be called upon in the Europa League based on what he's shown, who knows? potentially go out on loan. I would if I was him, but we've lost Gilmore. Joe Willock is likely to be in the first team setup, so there's a gap for midfield, so which Matt Smith and him would probably do that. Maybe to develop to the next level, probably should go out on loan because he's 19 turning 20 or so. THC is asked, what's your ideal defensive mid and why? A Vieira, Fabinho, carrot bodybuilding skill set, or Makelele, Kante or Torreira? They're quite different examples. I wouldn't class Torreira as the same, neither Kante and Makelele, but let's not be technical. I don't really care for defensive mids. Now, Vieira wasn't a defensive mid. He was more box-to-box, in my opinion. Yes, he won the ball back and things like that, but Vieira had a lot more to his game than just winning the ball back. He was obviously a good ball winner, box-to-box, link-up play, had a good shot on him. Great technical footballer. So I'd say Vieira first and foremost. I like Torreira, of course. I love Kante, I love Makelele, I love them all. My sort of guy is not really defensive mid. I would just like, ideally, a box-to-box midfielder who is competent defensively, who recognises I've got to win the ball back and things like that. Do you get it? I don't really care for the defender. I like defensive mids who wear black boots and just want to stay defensive mid. I'll have that in my side. But for me, as long as you're just on defending and you recognise we need to do that, I don't really care, people, to be fair with you. I'm not really fussed, man. So what else is there? 14's asks, what do you think? Why do you think we haven't signed a centre half yet? Not a clue, my dude. Man, I'd love to know. Ayo's asked, do you have any real hope that we'll sell any of the Deadwood players? Small hope because the window's still open. No hope in that. Some of these guys have been here for years, haven't been moved on. So I'm still prepared for El Nene. I don't want to disrespect people, but El Nene, Mustafi, based on them being linked with moves, Mesut Ozil, you know I'm a big fan of his, Mkhitaryan, all of these players, they're not going to be moved on, so they're going to be here, innit? I'd love to, Jenkinson, they're all going to be here, so what's the point, man? There's no point, this is what it is. Yeah, I think I've answered everybody's question, people, so what can I say, man? Each and every time you lot come high heavy with the questions, DG Nation and that, what more can I say, people? It's been a fantastic Q&A, it's been a fantastic time, and obviously, people, thank you very much first and foremost, again, and lastly, for asking these questions and allowing me to answer them. I'm not going to waste any more of your time, so on that note, people, stay safe, DG, I'm out.